Hey everybody, Matt here for AVC and welcome back to the shop. If you're new here, I've been professionally building vans since 2015 and the one you see behind me is our most luxurious build to date. This thing is loaded with features, let's check it out. For this build out, we selected a 2021 Ford Transit. This one happens to be a high roof, 148 wheelbase long body, and of course here in Colorado, we selected the all-wheel drive. If you want to know how to order your own Ford Transit, go ahead and check out that video in the link below. This van is on 245/75/16 tires, and basically that's a 30.5-inch tire. There is no lift on this van, and we fit these tires in without any problem. This is about as big as you can go without a lift. The reason we didn't put a lift kit on this van is it's something we can always do down the road, and if I put a little bit bigger tire, I think it looks cool enough. The lift kit doesn't really add that much value to it. Plus, I get a lot better fuel economy without a lift kit than with one. For the driver's side front quarter panel, we selected a C.R. Lawrence T-vent window. I like the T-vent style window when we have a kitchen in the front of the van because if it's rainy outside, I can open the fan on the roof and get a nice airflow here over the top of my kitchen and keep the food smell from outside the van. Here at the back of the van, we have the Aluminess rear tire carrier and passenger side accessory swing out. These are tied to the doors, so everything opens with the doors, makes it super easy. We also get the ability to put a full-size spare on the back of the van, which for our all-wheel drive is super important. We were bummed to find out when we dropped that spare wheel down that it doesn't match the rest of the wheels, but we're gonna put new wheels on this thing eventually, so for now, it doesn't really matter. I love going mountain biking, so it's really important to have an easy bike storage on the van. So we put the 1UP USA racks that actually came from Aluminess with this order on the back of the van. We can store the bikes vertically. It's super easy. We love this. The first thing we added to the roof was our AVC high roof rack. On top of that rack, we added two 100-watt Renogy solar panels to keep our battery system happy. We added a max air fan to keep us cool. And just in case we're in somewhere extra hot, we added a Dometic RTX 2000. This is a 12-volt air conditioner that actually has such a low draw, it can keep up with just these solar panels. We can run that AC all day long if we want to. Finally, at the back of the van, we finished with a couple of deck panels so that we can maintain things up here on the roof and not damage the roof of the van. That's all the fun stuff on the outside of the van. Let's take a look at what we have inside. One of the first things you'll notice about the build is our all-metal step and trim. I think a metal step in the entryway is super nice because it's a really high wear area, so it's really durable. It also keeps a lot of that dirt and grime and stuff like that out of the van, keeps the inside a little bit cleaner. The logo here is custom for the shop, and that's only available for builds that come out of our shop locally. One of the things I like about the 2020 and newer Ford Transits is the option to have factory swivels. Makes it super easy, we don't have to worry about any installs, and they don't have any extra height to them. Super nice. One of my favorite features of this van is our radiant floor heat system. So we used an S-bar hydronic system so we can heat a glycol solution from the gasoline from the tank. We burn that, we heat the glycol, and then we run that through tubes in the floor. We normally have a insulated floor system, and this one is no exception. So we did kind of a custom sandwich for this. We routed a 1-inch polyisoacrylic foam as our base insulation layer. Then we took a 3/4-inch subfloor and we routed that with the tracked grooves for the radiant loop. We did a proper domestic radiant loop, so we have an inside unwinding and rewinding spirals, so we don't get any kinks, anything like that. We also have nice soft bends for all the fluid flow, so it's a really nice, consistent heat throughout the system. And then that is topped with a 1/4-inch skin to just even the floor out, and then we put our Lawn Seal marine flooring on top of that. So it did give us a little bit of extra height, but in the high roof at 6'8", we have that height to spare, and we have a super nice, warm, comfortable van all year round. The first cabinet I want to show you is our kitchenette. The whole point of our kitchenette is to have a sink, so I wanted to choose a nice big sink so we can do everything we need to inside the van. I did a 14x18 sink here, and it's nice and deep. It's 8 inches deep, so that we can get everything inside here, do all of our dishes. I can leave dishes in here to dry as well, so it doubles as our drying rack, and that actually comes as part of that Ruvati sink, so it's super nice. We have hot and cold running water. I really like warm water because it makes actually washing dishes super easy. The bonus of having that hydronic system is we can efficiently make hot water from gasoline. So as we're heating the floor, we're also making hot water for our system. And that comes from a 4.2-gallon hot water tank. You'll also notice there's another drinking water faucet here. So this extra faucet is just for drinking water. It goes through an extra couple of filters. It has a UV filter and a particle filter for taste. So the water that comes out of here actually tastes really nice. Some of those plasticky tasting tanks can get old after you've been living in a van for a while, so this is a super nice feature for a build. Also on top of the counter is our induction cooktop. I like having an induction cooktop because it's really easy to cook from. I don't have to get out another stove, I don't have to set anything up, and most importantly, I don't have to worry about another fuel system. So this runs on electricity. The only thing is it requires special cookware, but these days it's actually pretty common, so it's really not that special. You just have to make sure you have the right cookware for it. But induction cooktop, super nice for a van. There's also no open flame, so it's much safer than like a propane stove or something like that in your build. Under the induction cooktop, we have a pull-out cutting board. So if we unlock that here, we just have, this locks in and out. So for off camber or on a slope, something like that, it's not gonna shut on us. It's really nice to have this extra counter space because you can see the kitchenette isn't that big. We have a lot of features in this van, so having a little bit of extra room when we're prepping meals, something like that, is a really nice feature to have. Below the pull-out cutting board is our fridge. So this is an Indel B fridge. It's a 4.2 cubic foot, 12 volt. We only do 12 volt fridges here, no 110, no propane. That stuff's old school, it's outdated. But this is the perfect size for a van, in my opinion. It lets us pack it full of everything we need. You know, I have beers handy. I can put all my food in there. I can even put ice and some frozen ice cream sandwiches, stuff like that, which is a nice treat for the kids. Below the sink, we have a few utilities down here. So we do have our gray water tank. So everything that comes out of the sink drains into this 5-gallon gray water, and I'll show you the dump for that. We have a fire extinguisher, of course, for safety. And then we have our expansion tank for our hydronic system. So this is the glycol loop that comes up into this tank. As that system heats and expands, it needs a little bit of room for that glycol to get larger. And so it expands into that tank there. I really like a built-in gray water tank because I honestly don't want to have to pull that thing out and dump it somewhere. It's kind of a funky job, and if I can avoid that at all costs, I will. The handle for that is actually right up here. So it's super easy to dump. The handle is actually hidden right here, and this is our dump valve. So if I pull that up, that opens the valve. Then if I push that down, that shuts it. Here at the front of the kitchen, there's a lot going on, so let me explain some of the cool buttons and stuff like that. So right here is our water pump button. This is a lighted switch, which I think is really nice so that we can remember that our water system is on and we don't accidentally leave that thing running too long. Below that is a 12 volt SAE port, and this plugs into this little special on-demand shower that we can use. So we just needed a nice, safe and easy connection for 12 volt power. This here is the electric switch for our hot water heater. So in addition to making hot water from our glycol loop, we also have electric backup. So if we're parked at shore power or something like that and we're plugged in a campsite, I can turn this on and I just have unlimited hot water whenever I want it. Below that, I have a USB, so I can charge phones and stuff like that when I'm hanging out here in our dinette. Up over the driver's cab, we have a Vancillary shelf. So the Vancillary shelf system works as just these little brackets that they sell you, and then they give you a pattern to cut your own shelf for it. It's a great way to save some money. It also gives you an opportunity to do some customization. So we did that, and we customized the bottom of this shelf to match our custom ceiling in the van. Another really great place for some efficient storage is overhead cabinets. So the cabinets that are over the top of the kitchen are very much designed for the kitchenette area. This one here is actually designed to house a microwave. So I have a 110 outlet in the back of that. In the future, if I want to plug a microwave into this, I can. But for now, I haven't quite committed to that, and I want this extra storage. So I put a door on here that I can remove in the future and just plug a microwave in there. In the next overhead door here, we have what I would call my pantry storage. So this is all of my kitchen spices, all my like dry goods. Usually my coffee kit is in here. I also have a USB in here so I can charge up a Bluetooth speaker. You can never have enough USB charge stations around a van. Nice soft close hardware. I'm super proud of these cabinets. This is one of my favorite things that we build. In the back over the bed, we have another pair of really big storage areas here. So usually I use these for clothes and bedding, things like that. So I'll have an extra blanket in here. I can have all my clothes for a trip in here. I have yet another USB. And then the one in the back over the top of the bed is the same thing. So it's just for the other person in the van. We can charge USBs, charge phones at night, all that kind of stuff. I really think it's nice to have those inside of a cabinet so that I can plug my phone in and then close it inside, and it's not going to keep me up at night. You might have noticed some of these L-track pucks here in the ceiling. We actually use these individual mounts for our Ever shower systems. This is what we hang up the shower tent with. On the passenger side roof, we also have a full stick of L-track. This is really good to be able to hang up a cord. We can dry towels, we can hang up ski coats, all that kind of stuff. We don't really do L-track in the ceiling anymore, and if you're curious why, we have a video about just that, and the link is in the description below. You probably noticed that the ceiling is pretty unique in here. So this is actually one of my most creative pieces I've had the opportunity to put in a van. We pulled a custom topo map from the USGS site. USGS put all the topo maps online. You can search for different locations, and they're all vector images, which is super cool. So I pulled the vector image into Illustrator. I pulled out the layers I needed. I threw that into my CAD design program, and then I kind of meshed it with the ceiling panels for our van, and then I routed it. So all the topo lines here are actually three-dimensional, so they're routed into the ceiling. And then we sprayed the whole ceiling with a clear poly. Then we went through and spray painted each line so we could pop them out as black. So we spray painted everything black. Then we had to sand the entire ceiling back down. So we sanded off all the overspray, and then we did a clear poly over the top of that again. So all in all, the ceiling probably took 20 hours of just labor, pure labor. But in the end, I think it's totally worth it. It's a beautiful piece, and it's 100% unique to this van. The topo map is of Rabbit Ears Pass, which is the pass just outside of Steamboat Springs here in Colorado. So it's a little piece of Colorado right here in the van, and we couldn't love that more. The rest of the control panel here has really all the main controls for our van. So there's a task light, which is just a direct light over the top of the kitchenette. If I just want pure light, working light, so that I can light up everything that I'm cooking, I have that right here, and that's just an on and off. I don't have that on a dimmer. I have the S-bar control, so this controls the hot water heater as well as the air furnace. And there's a reason we have both, and I'll explain that in a little bit. The next thing up here is our Victron Energy battery monitor. We use the BMV712. It's a Bluetooth model, so it connects to my phone. I can check all my stats over the last 30 days. I can get alerts from it. I can control things from my phone. It's super nice. It's one of the best systems. We love Victron Energy components. And then the thing above that is our Xantrex inverter. One of the things that I don't like from Victron is their inverters. Nothing bad about them. It's just that I think we get a little bit more bang for the buck with the Xantrex model. It's a 2000 watt pure sine wave inverter. It has shore power charging up to 80 amps. It does everything we needed to do, and it's about half the price. So I think it's totally worth it. The Easy Start Pro controller here controls all the S-bar systems in the van. It's really nice that one controller can control both the air heater and the hydronic heater, which is a really cool feature of this. So from here, I can tell it if I want hot water, if I want hot air, and kind of control everything from there. So below us down here is our hydronic system. Let's take a look. So if I take one of the seat pads off here and we take a look inside this section of the dinette, we have our hot water heater. So there's a 4.2 gallon hot water heater. There is the heat exchanger. There is our Calori air heat exchanger unit. So this actually runs that radiant loop over some air coils and has a blower motor, and this can push hot air throughout the van. So this really does it all, and you don't need a supplementary air heater in the system. When we put this in, it was one of the first ones we put in, and we had some kinks to work out. And in the interim, we wanted to make sure that the van was nice and warm and winterized, because it was wintertime and we wanted to get the maximum use of the van. So we actually installed an air furnace in the van too. The nice thing about that is the same controller does it. It was, it was half the work to put in that air furnace because we already had the hydronic unit installed. So we did both, and both of them work flawlessly now, and we're really stoked on the systems. This is a bit of an odd feature, but we have a redundant heater up here under the passenger seat. So this is the Airtronic air heater from S-Bar. This is the normal unit we install in a van, so we normally put an air heater in because I think that's enough for a van. But we had the opportunity to experiment with both systems and kind of learn some of the pros and cons. I think the nice feature about an air heater is it's quick, it's less complicated to install, and by quick I mean like instant heat. As soon as I turn it on, 2 minutes later, the van is hot. Whereas the hydronic takes a little bit longer to put in. It's much more complicated of a system, which means there's a lot more maintenance and things to think about. But once it's hot, everything stays warm in the van. So if it's the middle of winter and I have the thing running, I open the door to go outside, use the bathroom maybe, and come back in, the van is still plenty warm, and I don't have to worry about turning the heater on because there's so much thermal mass. So, both can be good, but you don't need both in one van. Here in the dinette, we have a specific place just to be able to sit down and work and eat. The table is based around a Lagoon table system, which I think is really nice because I can leave my dinner or my drinks on here. And if I need to get up and get out of this seat, I can do that. And I can get up and out of the van without having to take anything off the table here, which is a really nice feature. I can also swing this back and out of the way if I just want it completely out of the way, so I can do something more here without taking the whole table system down. The dinette here is actually designed specifically for 2 people. So, this seat back here is a little bit more limited. It's really just to sit at, but it has nice access for a table, and, we can have a nice comfortable dinner here at this table. The nice thing about a Lagoon table, which is this style table is a Lagoon table, is that it pivots. So if I want to get up out of this seat and I have a full table of dinner here, I can just push it out of the way and I can get up and get out of the dinette without having to clear the table. The passenger side bench is a little bit bigger, and this is so that we can kind of hang out in this seat. We can lounge, I can kick back here. If I want to read a book or, I just want to enjoy the afternoon in the van, I can do that. And this is a little bit more of a lounge space. And we're using that extra space into the doorway to achieve that. Inside the passenger dinette is the potty system. So for this van, we chose a wrap-on green toilet. The wrap-on green toilet is a really fantastic toilet. It's actually my favorite toilet. It uses this plastic bag system that electronically like moves the bag, heat seals it, and seals everything up and turns it into nice little pouches that then you can take out and dispense. There's like no smell, there's no chemical, there's no nothing to deal with. They do have a coagulant gel that you pour into it so that like if you do a number 1, it's not like a water balloon, it's a little more solidified. But other than that, it's super easy to use, really convenient, and no mess. Our bed system here in the back of the van utilizes our interior pocket wall system. We're punching into the depth of the Ford Transit. So you can see here, we went deeper into the wall so that we can get a queen size bed east to west here. It's a little bit shorter than a queen size bed. It's like 76 inches, something like that. But that works for me. So we sleep east-west in here, and it has a 5-inch latex foam mattress. So it's super soft, really comfortable, and no off-gassing, anything like that. So that's a really nice feature. It's also manually adjustable. So we can loosen everything up and adjust it for mountain bike season, put bikes underneath, all that kind of stuff. We also have his and hers lights in the back here, reading lights. So this is really nice at night. If we want just a small amount of light, we can do that. And then we have our sleeping bag set up in here so that we're ready to go all the time. I mentioned mountain bikes, so let's take a look under the bed and we can see what kind of storage we have. Here in the back of the van, I have a Park Tool bike stand. The stand is super nice because, as I mentioned, I like mountain biking, so I can work on my bike before I hit the trail. If I'm out on the road, I need to do some real maintenance. I have a proper stand to get that done. Underneath the bed, we also have cargo lights. So this is a standard for me. I think it's important in every single build. I can light up everything underneath the bed and see all the stuff I have back here and find the right piece of gear. I have over 5 feet of linear space here, so I can store lots of different gear, whether that's skis, it's bikes, it's just big totes full of fishing gear, whatever it is, this van is gonna store it for me, which is awesome. Here on the driver's side utility, I have our 20-gallon water system. So it's a 20-gallon cold water tank. And as I mentioned before, we have a 4.2-gallon hot water tank. So that's combined, we're almost 25 gallons of water on board. And that amount of water is really nice for having things like a shower here at the back of the van. So here I have a hot and cold shower that I can pull off. I can have a shower or a rinse here outside of the van. And that's my favorite way to have a shower in a vehicle this size. And you know, for 3 seasons, that's kind of my shower of choice. I also have a secondary water pump switch here at the back of the van so that I can turn on the water here at the shower and use whatever water I need to at the back of the van without running up to the front to turn the water on. Inside the passenger side utility is our battery system. So in here, we have 300 amp hours of lithium ion battery. We have our 2000 watt pure sine wave inverter. Cable management is honestly a little bit of a mess, but there was a lot going on in this little space, and this is the best I could do. Well, that's it for this build. Thanks for hanging out and joining me on this van tour. This was a really fun one to build out, but you know, as always, we're kind of experimenting and figuring out new things, and this one was a really good example of testing out new systems, trying out new things. We kind of think of this one as a concept van. We tried out a bunch of stuff, and some of them we'll put into new vans and some of them we won't. But it was really fun to test out new systems. We learned a lot when we built this van, and I hope you enjoyed the tour, and I hope you learned a little bit about what is possible in a camper van. If you thought this video was cool, please hit that like button so that we know you did. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. So with that, thanks for watching, and get the heck out. I'm ready to go camping.